Just after the universities, I started traveling and I discovered the different cultures. And I realized how much everything is interrelated. The fate of the ones is very much linked to the one of the others.
Welcome to Impact Investing TV.
Together, we will go on a global adventure, discovering the power of impact investing.
You will meet inspiring humans who are shaping a sustainable world for current and future generations.
There is no limit to the positive changes when we come together.
Let the journey begin. Hello everyone and welcome to the episode 8 of season 7 and greetings to all from Dubai where we are participating in the COP28.
And to all those who are joining for the first time this season, the theme is Impact Investing Worldwide, Uniting for a Sustainable Future.
COP28 started and leaders from all over the world are here, except of course a few. The latest United Nations Environment Programme reporting concludes that the current pledges under the Paris Agreement put the world on track for a 2.5 or even 2.9 degrees Celsius temperature rise above pre-industrial levels this century. So it's far above of 1.5 Celsius limit that would avoid the worst impacts of climate change.
And this is what we have been warning since decades. One of the worst effects of this is shortage of clean water and spread of infections.
So we need to start focusing more on water recycling and purification technologies, and also of eco-friendly disinfectants, which are not only scalable and easily available, but more, it should be cheap and economical for the citizens of emerging market economies. With this, no longer waiting, I'd like to invite our guest of today, and another friend of Ben actually, Mr. Claude Béglé.
Hi Claude, welcome.
Hi, good to see you.
And where are you at this moment?
I'm currently in Pune in India, in our office.
Not so far from us, actually.
Not so far.
It's an honor to have you with us today, Claude. So let me briefly introduce you to our audience, because you have such an amazing track record. So the ones who don't know you yet will be thrilled to know. So you are a Swiss entrepreneur and currently fully engaged in the field of sustainability and environmental initiatives. You are the founder and CEO of Swiss NeWater company, which we will talk more about today. And the company is enhancing public health, fighting pandemics through hygiene, while at the same time protecting the environment. Claude, you were also a member of the Federal Parliament of Switzerland, particularly active in its Foreign Affairs Committee, with a focus on peace and humanitarian activities, as well as digitalization and cybersecurity. Nowadays, everything is so interlinked and connected. You also were a chairman of the board of the Swiss Post, which is huge logistic and financial service entity with a revenue of 11 billion Swiss francs. You also hold PhD in economics, a master in law, and masters in international relationships. No idea when you studied all that. And you also live with your family and in 15 countries in Europe, America, Asia, Africa, and Middle East. So citizen of the world, just like us, we always say we are citizens of the world, trying to protect the planet and make the best out of it.
A very bad footprints balance sheet.
Exactly. So Klaus, to start with, how did living globally shaped the Swiss NeWater's vision?
You know, just after the universities, I started traveling and I discovered the different cultures. And I realized how much everything is interrelated. The fate of the ones is very much linked to the one of the others. And we see if you are not careful, climate change is affecting all of us, or fragile states in the south would trigger migration towards the north. And we all suffer, finally, by a chain of events from not having taken care of the planet and of the others. So we have to now take the time to look for solutions, concrete solutions.
I love that. Action is the only thing what we can do, right? See, people are talking, reporting, over-reporting, but they're not overacting. So it's definitely what we need. Claude, can you maybe share also a personal experience that deeply impacted your commitment to environmental causes? What was that? What triggered you to do what you're doing now?
Well, for example, when I was in the Sahel, I have seen how much the climate change pushed the nomads, Tuareg, with their herds towards the south, where you had the farmers, and then you had huge clashes between the two, leading sometimes to wars. Equally, in Central Asia, I've seen how much I was still this summer on the Pamir, and I have seen how much the climate change makes that, ironically, short-term you have floods because the glaciers are melting, and all of that after to have dry rivers where there will be not enough water. So all those elements, when you travel and when you see it, you are completely convinced that something has to be done.
Exactly. And looking at your CV, so you have been very much passionate and busy with the geopolitics. So how does your passion for geopolitics play into the Swiss NeWater's global strategy?
The one is the consequence of the other. Actually, I noticed that there is not so much difference between a political life or a business life. I always hesitated between the two, but those things are also interconnected. There is, for example, in Switzerland, something which is the scientific diplomacy. And I think it's very interesting. Ignacio Cassis is pushing that. And it's right. You can use the technology in order to address those major questions. And Swiss NeWater, I think, is an example of it, where we see that we can mitigate the need of having better water, better hygiene for preventive health, perhaps better agriculture practices with more natural ingredients, food processing, which helps for the food safety, and all of that without throwing tons and tons of toxic products to the river, which would be totally counterproductive for the environment. So it's very important to find a balancing act between the various sustainable development goals. Geopolitics is very much also about those sustainable development goals. They are all linked, and you can't handle the one neglecting the others. So what I have learned is that interdependency of everything, and of course the need to act in a balanced way to resolve the issues.
That is so true, Claude. And today I was giving actually a masterclass to one of the major investors, and it's crazy, but they didn't know what are SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. So we are still in the baby feet in impact investing in SDGs. There is still so much work to do. And can you please share and explain what is the core mission of NeWater? Let's talk more about it to understand better how it aims exactly to contribute to better future.
Yes, the mission is that balancing act, enabling on one side preventive health through hygiene. And by the way, preventive health globally is cheaper for the nations than bringing people to the hospital. And on the other side, avoiding pollution. Because if you fight COVID, the only thing you have in mind is to fight COVID, to get rid of it. It destabilized everybody. But who were thinking that by doing that, we were damaging a lot the environment. Because those products, all those products for the hygiene, are highly toxic. So how can we do something? How can we achieve the same result, but without phenol, without toxic, without alcohol, something which would be able to dissolve in the earth or the water, being biodegradable? So this is that balancing act which Swiss NeWater is trying to reach. And the same when you talk of food processing or agriculture, let's do it, but in a way that it doesn't harm the environment. How many of the pesticides which are needed in order to grow more food, but how many of them are not extremely toxic? So we sometimes have a feeling that we are improving things because we have invented a technology, but that has a counter effect by itself. So the logic is to think of all the dimensions together. And what we try to do at Swiss NeWater is to offer measures, very concrete measures for hygiene, which would have the same impact than the chemical toxic products, but without having the negative effects. And how do you do that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to ask, so name it. So you have already a solution. You have products, right? Which
Yes. So the technology is electrolyzed water. Basically, you flow water in which you had put a little bit of salt through an electrode and another cathode, and it would break down the molecule of water, separate the hydrogen from the oxygen, and you would recombine through the electrolysis process negative oxygen ions with the natrium, and that would generate powerful oxidants. And those oxidants are nothing else than very, very strong disinfectant. So basically, it's possible to have very, very efficient disinfectant with only water and salt and electricity. And those three things, even if sometimes electricity, if you don't get it, you can get it through solar panels. Those three are relatively cheap. And if you optimize them, you can improve the health in a very, very strong way without having the negative effects.
Wow, that sounds like a mission impossible, but nature is so wise and always provides the solutions.
It's mission possible. It works. It has been tested. And it's very important that people realize it. The difficulty sometimes, is in the, can I believe it? If the product looks like water, people would not say it's possible.
They say
it's water.
If it doesn't smell alcohol, right?
Exactly. So, ironically, only the microbiologist in a hospital, they would test it. They would say, hey, this is great. Or when people have been brainwashed. I was, I think 3 days ago in Geneva, I was in the Apple store. And while they were helping me, we had little talks, and they asked me about Swiss NeWater. I said, and then the guy of Apple, he showed me they had a little bottle, which is electrolyzed water. So all the Apple store in the world are using it. But of course, it had to be a company like Apple, which is very innovative, who said, okay, I impose it. And it works. The same way, I was very surprised when I met, for example, Pepsi Cola. They told, hey, what you do is right what we want to do. You are right on the DNA of our company. Or in India, and that was something which I did not expect, we have discovered that youngsters working for the GAFAs, 21, 22, 23, just out of university, they say, I want to work for a sustainable company. And for me, it was a surprise because there is so much greenwashing and people are blah, 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 but actually they don't care. Those young people, they are insisting to work for a green company. Therefore, the recruiters are putting pressure on the real estate, the landlords, who have bought my machine because they wanted to have a green building. So this is the unexpected effect. I would say it's still the minority today because most of the people, as I said, they speak about it and they don't care too much. But youngsters are relatively serious, and I think there will be a change of generation and a change of awareness, and this is good.
Yeah. And what was your inspiration behind focusing initially on a healthcare, hospitality, hygiene segment of the market?
Well, it's a very interesting technology which you can use in many, many fields. So we started by what I would call surface cleaning because it's a huge market. And also from a regulatory point of view, it's a bit easy as an entrance point. So you can work on hospitals, but starting with the non-critical part of the hospitals. You can work in hotels. Now, it's also interesting because each of the hotels, they have their green label, but actually they all have a different green label. If somebody is good in waste management, they would give a lot of points there. If somebody is good in renewable energy, they give points in a different way. So we are working as well a lot through facility management. So malls, offices, factories, public transport, airports, trains, schools, extremely important because you want to protect the children. So that segment is a segment where you have cleaning and disinfection. So most of the people do not understand the difference. Actually, cleaning is what we call 3-log reduction, which is 99.9% killing of germs. And disinfection is 4-log reduction, which is 99.99. And of course, it's much more difficult. But most people just don't realize. They say it's many times the 9. And what is important is to really offer a product which simultaneously cleans, that's visible, and disinfect, and that's not visible. But of course, it's much more important if you want to avoid the spread of infectious diseases. So we started with that just before COVID, when unfortunately for us, the products were not yet sufficiently homologued while the COVID came, but it's absolutely done for those situations. And I think that even after COVID, on one side, everybody would like to forget about it, but still there is an awareness that we have to be cautious. So that product has a lot of potential in that sense. But equally, we have now started working on similar fields. So food processing is an even bigger market. You know, for example, now we have developed another small machine. It's a small one, which is for the household, because the main machine I was mentioning is the size of a fridge, costs something like $10,000, $12,000, and is more for B2B, for business to business, or for large organization. But we have developed things for home, and we have something. This is based on a zone, and you can disinfect your fruits, and also it takes out all the pesticides. So those are also quite interesting models. And we see that the acceptance by the population is quite high. So you see fruit disinfection. From there, you can go for fruits and vegetables. For example, in Central Asia, we are working a lot with the government of Uzbekistan. And something which is interesting there is the fact that we have created a steering committee with the Ministry of the Health, Agriculture, Water, Environment, and Innovation. And they are guiding us using the technology so that what we do is in line with the priorities of the development of the country. And I think it's a bit followed by the President of the Republic. So it's quite interesting. And we are there working very much on helping them exporting some of their, for example, fruits. And for that, in order to be able to export it to Europe, we have developed a technology which is environmental friendly. Because what they do for the time being, they put sulfur around it, and that's, of course, not acceptable. It's acceptable locally. It was acceptable by the former Russia, but it's not acceptable in the Western world. So we are helping them in the export of their products. We're also working on agriculture, on some elements on improving the irrigation, in improving the cattle and herd. So you have a huge amount of possibilities, without mentioning, of course, the fact that you have water purification. In many parts of the world, the water is okay. They drink it because they have no choice, but it's not a good water. So with the technology, we can have a perfect alkaline water, which is very, very positive. So we start with one thing because you have to focus in the business. If not,
that's what
you're
I
an
said.
academic.
All over now, across sectors, countries, so really global vision, and I understand it's a...
But that was going to be my next question, that I know that you are more Indian than Swiss because you spend nearly all your time in India. So what is it? Can you explain your strategy of rolling out globally your product?
Yes, of course. Of course. So we of course started in Switzerland, and we developed the machine in Switzerland. Then we did a transfer of technology to India. I must say that some of the Indian engineers on certain aspects, they have even improved what we had developed in the West. We had developed it in Switzerland and in the Netherlands with also a few German engineers. But, the more you bring brains, the more you can do interesting things. Now, here there are two aspects. One aspect is what I mentioned about the hotel, the hospitals, the hygiene in general. What I really believe in a country like India, Prime Minister Modi launched Swachh Bharat, which means clean India, because the country, as you know, is not so clean. So there is a huge need to improve the public health. So I believe that there is a lot of potential in going to what is called in India panchayat, to the rural collectivities. There is a possibility to go maybe to the slums as well. And through the extension services of Ministry of Health or different ministries, we have the possibility to improve the quality of life of the people in a substantial way. So having done that, we have moved around. So I just mentioned what we are doing in Central Asia, and there we are very close to many of the government people and also with the universities. And now it's quite interesting because we have only one problem, which is language, because in India, everybody speaks English. In Central Asia, everybody speaks Russian, but not so much English. So we have to make sure that now we are working, we are also developing little by little the Southeast Asia. So next week in Vietnam, we had started discussion about a year ago. We are going, very interesting, to go to Africa. There, that's when the money will be there, but we'd like to probably start in Rwanda. We are working with the Sharjah University in the Middle East. Together with them, we are also developing. So it's always the concept and the commercialization, the two things together. Maybe a very interesting case has been Bhutan, because we had the chance to meet even the king in Bhutan. And he's very passionate about having a net zero country. And actually doesn't have to make an effort because he's still on the right side of the thing. So,
yeah, exactly.
but he wants to keep it. He doesn't want to go beyond the net zero. And met with many of the ministers, met also with the lamas, who play an important role there. And we are also installing a machine there in one of the hotels, which have been recognized by the National Geographic as one of the 20 most sustainable in the world. One other example, the Maldives, there you have, because that machine is able to produce on the spot. So, but avoids all the logistics. So in the Maldives, it will be one island, one hotel, one machine. So those are the kind of concept. The ecology of it is the ecology is important because it's on one side biodegradable, because we have that electrolysis process compared to the chemical route. We have a product which is as aggressive as the others to kill the bacteria or the viruses on the spot, but after the product becomes biodegradable. So it doesn't have the same harmful effect on the underground. Plus, you avoid the transport and the carbon emission, so your footprint is better. Plus, you avoid the plastic bottles.
Exactly. And how does your business model ensure long-term profitability and sustainability?
By combining two factors. On one side, you have a unit cost because we are being able to do versus people who only understand cleaning. We are doing cleaning and disinfection and ecological. Now, as I said, there is a lot of greenwashing. So if you would be more expensive, maybe it would work in Scandinavia, maybe it works in Switzerland. In those countries, you can sell a bio apple, which does not look too good, more expensive than a beautiful round red apple, because people understand. But in many other countries, people do not understand. So what we need to do, we need on one side to have a product which cleans as they always cleaned. And by the way, it's a bit strange because we have to add to the product itself something so that it makes foam. Because if it doesn't make foam, people say, I can't clean, which smells, so that the people who will inspect will say, oh, she did clean or he did clean, something which would make the product more viscous. All of that is totally unnecessary, but psychologically, if you don't do that, it doesn't work. So we do it, but that's clean. But on top of it, people do not understand disinfect because, as I said, only microbiologists would do it. And people do not understand really the ecological aspect. So you need to have there a commercial approach. And the positive side is that it's not so expensive. Because since you do it with water, salt, and electricity, okay, we have some biodegradable additives because of what I said, but the cost is lower than the traditional products. I'm talking B2B market. I'm talking products like the two leaders, which are Ecolab and Diversey, two very large American companies. I'm not comparing with Javel water, which you may buy at the corner because that's different. But if you want to go to the market, which is really professional, we are cheaper. And that's quite interesting. So people buy the product because it's cheaper and say that they buy it because it's ecological. But little by little, the ecological will really become a motivation. One day it will be there. And this is also why we need to expand. Because I think that the two leaders of the market, which are very much in the chemical industry, but they realize that the days of the chemical product are counted. So I would not be surprised that somewhere in their laboratories, they are also trying to develop something. And the day when it's too late, they will roll it out. So we have to develop those solutions. We have to convince people to adapt those solutions. And then, as fast as we can, to roll it. Fortunately, we have a team. That's something I have done all my life. So, and I have a team of old friends. It's funny because we are some gray hair, white hair, no hair club of people with quite a bit of experience and very young. Now we have in the different countries very, very young teams. And the combination of the two is fantastic. But I know that we are completely able to do an international rollout because I've done it many times. So we want to go for that. We want to go for that crusade, but it should not be just a verbal crusade. It must be with, on one side, products which have a commercial value. For the customer, they must have a return on investment of the machine in, let's say, 2 years, so that it's attractive to them. And for the investors, we are talking of IRR of probably 30%. So the product has to be profitable. And based on that, we are developing all those solutions which are bringing clean water to the population, which is agriculture, which is food, so that at least initially we can really hit some of the SDGs, and probably they have a potential of also becoming profitable products in 1-2 years.
That's amazing, Claude. And your energy is so fantastic. It feels like you are yourself when you are 25. Well, at largest, 25.
Yes. Yes.
But tell me, it's more, I suppose you're looking for investors.
I have my backpack.
Yeah, to roll out globally, you need financial resources. So what kind of support you're looking for? What will be in the first financial round, the second? So maybe you can tell us what and why investors should invest in you, why it's attractive for them.
Okay. Well, what we need, we would globally the whole plan, which we have calculated, because again, I'm with people who have a bit of experience. So we are half a small startup. From a financial point of view, we are a startup. And we have also some processes which are, because I worked in very large companies. So we are a bit both. We think that we will need altogether 20 million. But we now, in today's world, if you say 20 million euro, dollars, Swiss franc, you can choose. But we calculate 20 million Swiss francs would be very good. And that would help. We have very detailed calculation. That would help covering the first probably 3.5 years with heavy investment. And then the cash flow would be automatically generated. But we are not going for 20 because I consider that the enterprise value is not yet sufficiently high. And then I would lose the control of the company. So we are going for something smaller at the beginning. According to our books, the post-money value would be something like 50, but pre-money, it's going to be between 20 and 30. So it's why we are interested to have, let's say, 5 million, 2 million immediately, and 3 million next year. With that, we can establish. We want to consolidate all that proof of concept, which we did in India. We want to start developing, because the Minister of Health is very interested in Uzbekistan. And as well, we have projects which with the Ministry of Agriculture for food processing. So we'd like to cover that as well. We have just started something on the other side of the world, we have started an operation in Colombia, and would like also to be able to support it. So those 2 million would be for that. And then we think that we can think of two things, because for impact investors, I would probably go for those projects which are very, very, very strongly linked with sustainable development goals, like agriculture, like food processing, water treatment, knowing that we can, of course, go for impact investment, but also for the private equity market when it goes for the traditional products. And I think we would need to go about 50% debt equity ratio. There is an element which I have to mention, which plays a little bit in our against us, is the fact that the traditional products are in bottles. So people buy a bottle of $3 or $5. So nobody cares. Nobody has ever controlled how you buy bottles of a few dollars. When you have a capex like a machine, from a, for example, ecological point of view, the capex is much, much better. But then the CFO has to do a return on investment calculation for the capex. So even if at the end, the real ROI is more favorable with a machine, it's capex versus opex. So we need to have some working capital. We may need to go for leasing in some countries, just so that the end customer can pay a monthly fee. And if he pays a monthly fee, which is lower than what he pays today, it's very easy. So 20 million would be the global number. 2 plus 3 to start would be what we are looking for now.
And just a short question. So your entity where the investor comes in is in Switzerland or in India or somewhere else?
It's in Switzerland.
It's a Swiss entity.
The entity is in Switzerland. Something which is just happening now. We have a joint venture in India, and with a very, very good partner, Forbes Marshall. One of the two brothers was president of the CII, the Confederation of Indian Industry, and they are very, very reliable people. We have agreed with them that they will move up to the holding level. So I have one partner in the holding level. They will be the second partner of the holding level. It will be 2 times 10%. So I continue having 80%. And this would be at the holding level that we would offer. But if somebody would be interested at the regional level, there is a combination possible. So, for example, we have some discussions in Singapore ongoing. So there would be a possibility for somebody to say, we are investing in a certain territory. We take a share in that territory, and we also take some shares at the holding level.
The reason
of course, a minor one.
Yeah, exactly. The reason I asked is that many impactful funds or investors, they prefer emerging market. They prefer to invest directly into an emerging market. So they will, for example, they will prefer to invest more in India than into a Swiss holding. And that possibility is available with you.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. And if somebody wanted to invest only in India or in Southeast Asia, in Africa, in Latin America, because I know that sustainability is not only developing countries, but because I have spent a lot of my life in the developing countries and I know them very well, I believe that there is more need on the sustainability in those countries than in Europe, USA, and Japan. And so it's why I think we should, personally, I have 2 aims. One is to be successful as an entrepreneur, because when you launch something, you want to be successful. But the other aim is when I have to look in the retro on the last day of your life, to have the feeling that I did something useful. So I'm not so much greedy after money, because I have good pension, so I don't need it. But but I want to leave a legacy. And I believe that legacy of the Swiss NeWater will be mainly in developing countries. So for me, developing countries would be my main target. So if you want, I would be more happy to know that we have developed the company in developing countries. Then I believe that in Europe, you have people who are eco-aware, and in the US a little bit less.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and how does Swiss NeWater plan to maintain its competitive edge in the market? So once you roll up a little bit, then the big guys jump in and produce the same thing. So how are you going to remain competitive?
I will give you a bad answer and a good answer. The bad answer for the investors is the more people will jump into that, the better for the planet.
For everyone, right?
The better for the planet. Yeah. So to some extent,
for me, it's a good answer. Yeah, for me, that is a good answer. But, I have the same mindset.
But on the other side, of course, the way how you can do that is by going fast and by being all the time innovative. You know, the field of electrolysis is huge. It's huge. It's a science. It's like a cave, and we have explored 20% of the cave. But there are a lot of things we do not know. Today, you can have different types of electrodes which would do very different things. So it's a whole chapter. It's like the palette of a painter. You can play on the amperes, the voltage, the salinity of the water, and that gives you already very different products. You can have products which are of a low pH, so they are more acid, and they would be very strong disinfectants. You can have a high pH, and you would have, for example, a very alkaline water, which would be one of the most perfect water to drink. So you just play with those parameters.
I studied biochemistry, you know. I thought you did. Yeah, I didn't mention that, but it looks like you also did your master's in biochemistry, explaining us all this.
No. I'm an idiot on that. But what I do well, I recruited good people.
Yeah,
and I'm learning from my team. I have the modesty to say that I know less than them. One of them has been one of the top PhD of India. So those people, they know. And my role is just to make sure that we work all together so that we can improve it. But effectively...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes,
effectively, you can work on so many combination and permutation. So it's why we are also working now with universities. I think we have probably 30 people working in universities together with us, outside the company, but linked with the company in different fields. And it's a very interesting thing, because what we bring to them is how a real company works, and what they bring to us is their respective fields, because most of them, they are PhD students, and they bring their knowledge, and we bring the electrolyzed water. And we see, for example, we are now, I signed today a clinical study for 3 years, how to treat vaginal infections with the Carad Institute. So, you know, we are investigating in many fields. And it's also very interesting because we are putting universities together. One thing, I cannot go too deep, but we are talking also in Switzerland with Swiss universities. And we have a very concrete project to try to develop with them. But at the same time, we are putting universities in already 6 regions of the world. And we are kind of the one bringing them together. And it's quite interesting because it's stimulating for them to work with us because we have a strong team. And then, you can learn in China things which would be different than what you can learn in America. By bringing all of that together, you normally can frog leap.
You can achieve great results. Only collaboration. We believe in that completely. Claude, besides financial resources, how can our audience support you? What else can we?
Oh, a lot of things. Financial resources is, of course, very important. Then, customers. If we can have some customer base, that helps a lot.
Okay.
Then, advocacy. Many people do not understand the concept. So one day they will understand it. But it's never good to be right too early. So
I know that well, yeah.
So I don't say we are too early, but we are in the early stage.
Right.
So I am sure that in 10 years, everybody will follow. But so the more people will understand it, the better.
You have
another side
where you share a lot of knowledge about this or explaining the technology, which some people can follow or reshare,
Yes, work with universities. That's another thing where it can help a lot. And the governments. What I wish to do, what I try to do, we are initiating it. So in India, we are initiating an impact study with one of the universities in order to demonstrate how, by going with, now I'm not talking of private hospitals, of commercial centers, of private airports, of industrial, I'm talking public sector. So if I can demonstrate how much by bringing those products to the poor population, provided there is not too much corruption, etc. If you manage to have preventive health, and it's going to be cheaper than bringing people to the hospital. If we manage to show how we can improve agriculture practice, and we have very concrete ways to do it, on seeds, on greenhouses, on even cleaning the pipes of irrigation. If we are able to go to remote areas and help improving the water supply of a certain quality, all of that implies normally not only the federal governments, but the local governments. And if we manage to have the ear of those authorities to do it, so if I can do my impact study in India, now I'm doing exactly that currently in the Central Asia, and it's working very well. And I'd like to start doing it in Southeast Asia and in Africa and in Latin America. And the more we can demonstrate the usefulness, but through the private sector as well. My target, once we have that, is probably one day to go to UNDP or the World Bank and to show it, but I have to come with tangible studies and concrete results And then I know that they will scale it up.
Exactly. And do you have any call to action message for our global audience?
SDGs are good, each of them, but in order to have them really effective, a balancing act between all those SDGs is essential. So the coordination, the last SDG has always been the most important and the most also difficult to realize, because it implies a coordination between the various agencies, the various countries, and everybody speaks very well about let's be united, but actually there is a competition between everybody to be a bit better than the others. So in my case, SDGs, public health and agriculture, food processing must be combined with the environment protection. It's not the one and not the other. It must be the various SDGs together in a balanced, in a coordinated way. And what we try to do at Swiss NeWater is precisely to ensure that coordinated approach to make sure that when we do something good on one side, it doesn't harm the other side, but that we are able to work on health just at the same time that we're able to work on environment, or food, or agriculture, or water.
That's amazing. It's how it should be, Claude. It's and we wish you a lot of success on the way, on your impact journey. And of course, keep in touch and spreading awareness about your amazing product and the Swiss NeWater company. So thank you for joining me today. And we see you in Switzerland. Yes, we're all back. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thank you, Claude. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
So, dear viewers, with this, we finished the 8th episode of season 7, amazing eco-innovation in the hygienic sector.
And our next episode will be coming soon. So thank you for watching us.
And you can always reach us at apply@isolutions.ch if you want to become our next guest. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Hey, we hope you have been inspired by the remarkable stories that shape impact investing worldwide.
Make sure you subscribe to our channel not to miss any future episodes.
Contact us if you want to support our guests or be the next TV show guest yourself.
Join the awesome impact community and invite your friends to do the same.
You can find us on TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, podcast, anywhere in your favorite social media.
We'll look forward to sharing the next episode with you. And remember,
together we create a truly sustainable future.